Oh, this is much better than watching it alone. Welcome back to, to us at Global Access Bars Day, the premiere of Is Now the Time. Miss Emily,
Thank you, Dr. Dain. We do. So
yes, we do. You all sent in questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And
so the next segment will take about 7 hours because of how much I talk. But if you'll notice, my hands are on my lap. Because when I watched this damn TV show, I was like, what, am I fucking Italian? I can't say hello without like, hi, you know, like, look like Timmy, the guy who took the short bus to school. So anyway, we'll see if I stop moving my hands. Sorry, I'm ready for your question.
Okay, ready for the question.
Wait, hold on.
This is very serious.
Okay, now I'm ready. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So we are streaming on Ickonic Media's YouTube, and people have been sending in lots of questions there and they're social. And so this is part of our globalaccessbarsday.com, so we have lots of people sending questions, basically. The first one I would like to ask you is, Ickonic Media came to you and suggested doing this television show.
Yes.
Why did you say yes? How did you come up with the title?
Well, basically, because they're as weird as we are. They may even be weirder if you see some of the stuff there. And I love that about them. The original meaning of weird was of spirit, fate, or destiny. And they said, hey, I actually spoke with Jamie Ickonic, and he said, we'd like to do this TV show. Are you interested? And I said, maybe, let's talk. Because most people who want to do something want to water it down, and they want to make it something that is according to their standards and try to control it. And I said, Jamie, so what do you actually want to do? He said, well, I read the Being You Changing the World book, and basically I would like to put that as a TV show. And I went, okay, yes, let's do it. And in working with them, they have been amazing. And Robin, who is our editor for this show, I would just like everybody around the world to give some gratitude and the biggest seal clap in the world. You know how you meet some people and they're so kind, they're so present, and they're so damn smart. And you know that they get it, and you know that they can actually move it forward. And that was the case, and is the case. And I'm so grateful. And I'm also grateful because Ickonic Media is about putting alternative ideas out there into the world so that you realize there's a lot of different stuff going on, but choose what works for you. And so we have similar points of view in that regard.
Awesome.
And they said they wanted to create conscious Netflix. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Okay, I'll try.
Awesome. Okay, so first question from WHP Wellbeing. So not a first name, but we have that. What is the most important thing for us to do right now in relation to leading the life we want?
Stop buying what you see out there as though it is what you must choose. In other words, stop buying the trauma and the drama and the suffering and the idea that the world is going to hell in a handbasket and things are just getting worse. If you buy into that, you will create that as your life, because your point of, it didn't work at all, did it? I'm only 50% though, I'm only using one hand. I feel like, hey, baby steps, people, okay? I'm thinking that probably doesn't look much better on camera. What are you doing there, Dr. Dain? None of your business. Your point of view, the way this works is, your point of view creates your reality. And when oh no, now I'm gonna think about it all the time and still do it. This is gonna be terrible. I won't be able to talk anymore. Your point of view creates your reality. So when you align and agree with the point of view that things are going like this, well, then that's what is gonna show up in your world. And you're gonna say, oh, see, I knew it. Because the way it works is, let's say, let's take money as an example. Let's say you grew up in a family that struggled with money. And so what you do is you adopt the points of view that money is a struggle. And then what happens is money starts to show up as a struggle in your life. And then you go, see, I knew I was right. That's actually not the case, because you have a friend probably whose family didn't struggle with money, and they don't struggle with money. But what's the difference? Their points of view. If you can change your point of view, you can change your life. If we together can change our points of view about what's possible as our future, we can change the future of our planet. because it is the collective of our points of view that create what our planet experiences moving forward. We are the ones creating reality. And that's another thing we've got to get. And we might be able to, if we could just start to be willing to get it on a personal level, where it's like, look, I realize that I can change my reality. I may not be able to change yours, but I can change my reality. And if enough of us get that, enough of us weirdo humanoids, enough of us who are the seekers, the ones that have been weird our entire lives and judging ourselves for not fitting in, not being able to get it right, feeling wrong our entire lives, if we can start to get over that and get that we are the creators of our reality, together we create a different reality. The reason I do Access Consciousness, we have a definition of consciousness, which is where everything exists and nothing is judged. And from that space of no judgment, you see possibilities in everything. Asking questions. One of the questions that was sent in was, what is one of your favorite tools? Number 1, bars. Number 2, asking questions. Because if we will ask a question instead of come to conclusion, we can change the solid wall in front of us. It doesn't have to be a solid wall. It's a solid wall because our point of view creates our reality, that it's a solid wall. So any area of your life you're looking at that has not changed, what you want to start with is asking questions, and then hopefully using this clearing statement when you notice stickiness come up. Because what happens is, if you see a solid wall in front of you, if you see a wall that says life sucks, or I'm depressed, or you can't do it, or we can't create change, then that's what you start living. A question is something like, what is possible I've never considered before? How does it get any better than this? What is a possibility that the universe can show me that I can't even imagine possible? And to some people who are really buying into the idea that everything is crap, they're like, oh, you just don't get how it works. And I'm like, well, actually, okay, but I'm happy. What do you mean I don't get how it works? Why is it also that those of you that have a level of happiness when others don't, those of you that see a level of connection possible with people, those of you that see possibilities other people don't, why is it you're supposedly wrong? Why isn't it the idiot sitting next to you judging you that doesn't see those possibilities and tells you you're crazy for thinking that can exist? Why are they not the one that's wrong? Because they don't judge themselves as wrong. You do. And in that wrongness, we have kept ourselves from bringing the possibilities to the world that we weirdos know are available. And it's not like I want to be like weirdos against non-weirdos. That's the same reality. That's perpetrating the same thing. Oh, we're right and they're wrong. No, you're not wrong and they're not right. And you're not right and they're not wrong. We together live on this planet. And if we could, and the other thing is, if we would embrace and explore the possibilities we have a sense of or available. And what do I mean by that? Well, have a sense of, which is, you'll have a sense of, ooh, this could feel this way. This could be this way. Ooh, this could be lighter. And ponder that for just a few minutes each day of what you'd actually like your life to be like and what you'd like our world to be like, and then ask for it. Say, hey, universe, consciousness, please help. This is the life in the world I would like to have. Now, in Access classes, we go through this. We undo a huge amount of the points of view that don't let you know that something else is possible. And it's one of my favorite parts of class is to see when people's light goes on and they go, shit, I don't have to live what I've been living. Hallelujah. And you see them start looking forward to waking up in the morning. They start looking forward to being alive. And that sounds like a small thing in people's worlds, but it's one of the greatest gifts there is, because you be that and you be that lightness. Oh my goodness, it's a contribution to you. It's a contribution to everybody. And people, and when you start to get that sense, and you're no longer kind of putting one foot in front of the other, dreading every day and this stress and then more stress and then more stress, and you start to have a sense of ease and peace and lightness, which, as we've talked about, everybody has said that's one of the things bars create. But as you live that, you start to be this beacon of light and lightness for people, where people start to go, wow, okay, they're having it. What is it you're having that I'm not having? And you start to inspire people. And that is one of the greatest gifts we can be to the world.
I love interviewing you.
One short question.
Well, no, it's funny because Dain's a little bit psychic. And I'm like, and you just answered this one and this one. Okay, but let me ask you, from Carol, in these intense times, how do we stay inspired to be ourselves in the face of all the heaviness around us?
Yeah, and that takes some balls, really. Now, you can do it if you don't have literal testicles, it's okay. But what I mean by that is you gotta be willing to demand it of you enough to where you're willing to make that a priority in your life. That search for what is true for you. Because what's true for you always makes you lighter. When you're living it, when you're hearing it, when you're doing it, when you're around people who have a sense of what's true for you energetically, it makes you lighter. That's why it's fun to be with your weird friends. And your normal friends are, well, let's normal. Okay, how fun. And so what happens is the demand we make for that in our lives is the beginning of that occurring. And so how do we stay on that path? Here's the secret. It's not a path, okay? It is a meandering journey that is not a path. Like sometimes you'll be here and sometimes you'll be like, oh my God, I lost it. It's terrible. I've lost everything. But if you'll keep using access consciousness tools, which I know some of you are like, I don't even know what those tools are. What are you talking about? Okay, bars being one of them, but asking questions being another, the clearing statement being another. If you'll keep doing that, what happens is the general level of your life starts to go like this. And will you still have downs? Yes. Anybody who tells you that just do this once and you will be perfectly happy for the rest of your life is a fucking idiot. Okay? They are lying 3 ways to Sunday. Don't believe that shit. Okay? You got to do the work. And what is the work? Being present and being willing to look at things that come up rather than avoid them. And if you do, what happens is the level of your life starts to go up like this. And when there's a down, rather than being down here, the down is like this. And then you're like, okay, what is it? Here's 4 questions for you that can be really helpful. And I realize I talk really fast. What is it? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how do I change it? And that's you interacting with whatever the thing is that's in front of you. Because we have this ability to interact with the thing that's in front of us energetically. Most of us don't know it. Most of us think, oh, I don't know how to be with that. I need to run away. And then it just gets worse while we're avoiding it. This is where you stop avoiding living. This is where you stop avoiding your life. But it's also where you stop avoiding knowing what's true for you that is different than what's true for other people. So the trajectory of your life starts going like this. You'll have it down. But if you're truly desiring to become more conscious, if that's a demand you make of you, and why would I ever suggest or ask that of you? Because consciousness is the one thing that can change everything that is going on this planet into something greater. Like consciousness, we think about new technologies, for example, right? Where, oh, they used to use this, now they're using this. You know, I just heard of an upgrade in Bluetooth called ultra wideband, which delivers all kinds more information and blah, 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 and you're further away and all this stuff. It's this major leap forward. But that came from more consciousness. More consciousness is more awareness. More consciousness is less judgment. More consciousness equals more possibilities. More consciousness is the lightness of life and living. More consciousness is us truly being us. And consciousness is not a religion. It's not a group you have to follow. It's a thing that the entire universe is. Einstein said every molecule in the universe has consciousness. Not only that, every molecule in the universe is connected with the consciousness of every other molecule. There's this thing called quantum entanglements in physics. And if you study it, they begin to describe it. There's just certain parts they haven't figured out yet, like most of it. But that's a story for another time. Okay? But it speaks to the awareness of the idea that there actually is this thing called consciousness with every molecule having it and every molecule being connected to every other molecule. Now, when I say that, do you notice you kind of go, oh, yeah. Like there's a lightness. This is, bless you. There's a lightness in that what's light is true. What's light for you what's true for you makes you lighter. A lie makes you heavier. That is an example of the lightness of what is actually true for you. And so what consciousness allows you is the ability to use that on a practical, pragmatic level. It allows you to actually utilize this awareness of the interconnection of all things to live abundantly, to create your life and to undo, because the only time we create a difficulty in our life is when we function from unconsciousness, which is unawareness, or anti-consciousness, which is where we choose against our awareness. That's the only time we create a difficulty in our lives. Like, have you ever been, I don't know, driving somewhere and you're like, ooh, I should turn here. No, that's not my route. I'm not going to turn here. And 3 minutes ahead was a major accident, and you were stopped for hours because you can't get out and Waze didn't tell you, fucker. You know that? You know how that works? But you had the awareness. Or have you ever chosen something that you knew not to choose? Some of you married it. You know what I'm talking about? Sorry. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all night, church, boys, and beyond. That's how you use the clearing statement, okay? But if you choose something that you know not to choose, is there anything that frustrates you more? No, because you know. Well, consciousness is an acknowledgement that you actually know, and you always know. But knowing doesn't look or feel the way you thought it did. Knowing is not a brick across your head that goes, do this, dub-dub. Knowing is like a feathered touch across your cheek. So the other thing that we can actually do to have this and not maintain, I think the question was, how do we maintain our sense of this being possible? You can't. Let's stop trying to maintain it, because maintaining it is putting it in a box. And I don't know how many times, for me, I would get to the place where I had a new space, a new energy, and I'm like, yes, I want to stay here, yes. And I would be like energetically like constipated, like trying to hold on to it. I'd be like, I feel good now. Okay, don't take away my good feeling. And somebody's like, hey, do you want to go to the bar? I'm like, no, I feel good. I don't want to do anything. I'm going to sit here and feel good. Shut up. I don't want it to go away. Can you guys relate to that? You know what I mean? We're like, oh, it feels so good. Please don't take it away. And then what happens? Bye-bye. Within a day, within a couple days or something, within an hour, within 5 minutes, if you get activated by something. Well, we can't maintain an energy for longer than about 10 seconds because the entire universe is in movement all the time. Every molecule is moving in your body right now. And we're like, no, my body looks like the same that it did. Well, all the molecules are moving. And replacing themselves about every 7 years, roughly, okay? So rather than trying to maintain it, let's learn to surf the tsunami. Let's learn to surf the tsunami to such a degree that we become the tsunami of change in the world. And not from force. A tsunami, think about it for a moment. Do you think a tsunami is working really hard when it goes and pretty much destroys everything in its path? No, it's just being a tsunami. What are you doing today? Oh, I'm gonna be a tsunami. I'm gonna kill a few 100,000 people. Yeah, lots of buildings, billions of dollars. Yeah. Are you working hard? No, it's easy for me. It's totally easy for me, It's like, and we have this saying in Access, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And glory is exuberant expression in abundance. If you'll start by using this 10 times in the morning and 10 times in the evening, and just notice what lightens up and what changes in your life. It's a really simple tool, but have I already gone over on time? I'm at 0.
That does not apply.
I was like, dude, he said I had a timer, and it's at 00:00:00. And why does that thing have 2 colons? Is there a lot of shit in there? Like, what's the deal, bro? Okay, good, just checking. Okay. Because we know I like to talk a lot. So with that, though, if we can recognize that we have this ability to surf the tsunami, then if we wake up and we're having a crappy day from our own reckoning, it's like, okay, well, this is what the tsunami is presenting today. Now what else is possible? And what's it going to take to change this? And also, one of my favorite questions, universe, show me something beautiful. Or universe, show me something beautiful and miraculous. I ask it every single day, and I got to tell you, on the days where I least expect something to show up, every single day, by the end of that day, I am in a state of gratitude and awe for what is available and possible in our world. We actually do live in a world of miracles. We live in a world in which miracles could be our bread and butter, could be what we experience all the time. And I see this, it would be one thing if I came to Access and was the only one where these tools changed my life. How many people in this room, just around the world, is like, anybody who actually uses these tools, the world changes and it becomes lighter. And it's not about it also takes away the need for fight. You don't need to fight against. When you're truly creating your life, you don't need to fight against. And you don't need to control others. And you get into this thing called allowance of what people are choosing, which is, hey, if you need to choose it, okay. I'll ask you a question to see if you're willing to change it, but if you're not, it's okay. I can be an allowance. I can have it be an interesting point of view that you want to make this choice. And in that, you don't have to separate from anyone or anything. In that, you become a sense of oneness with all the molecules, even of the people. And you start to become a space in your own life that makes you truly value being alive, because part of the reason so many people are struggling is because they have such a sense of lack of space. But that's part of the pandemic in the world right now. That is where there's this massive contraction in people's worlds. But here's the weird part, and here's the tough part to get. For me too sometimes, and I've been doing this 21 years looking from these different places, is if everybody else chooses to suffer, what if it's okay if you don't? Are you contributing to other people by your suffering and your contraction? Or do you contribute more by your freedom and your space and your joy and your sense of liberation and freedom being possible? And only you know the answer to that. But notice when I ask that question, how there becomes more space. That's another acknowledgement of what is true for you. So if I sum all of that up, which I'm not going to try to, but really it would be to finally get in touch with what is true for you as a being. Not as a mind on legs, because that mind, if you're thinking, you're stinking. Your mind gets you nowhere good. Gets you a lot of places that are bad and yucky, because it's the source of judgment. But you don't even have to resist that. You can just go, your mind is like, blah, 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 blah. And you go, okay, thank you for sharing. I'm not aligning and agreeing anymore. We have to be actively involved in choosing our lives. We have to be actively involved in choosing to be lighter, actively involved in choosing what brings us joy. And let me tell you, or let me say one other thing since I mentioned that, which is, do you change the world more by being sad or by being joyful? Joyful. Yeah. So if you're like me and you actually have a desire to change the world and make it a greater place for everyone to thrive, perhaps your joy is a crucial element in that. Would you be willing to allow that to be the case? So everything that doesn't allow you to perceive that, to know that, to be that, and to receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
There's several questions about one of the things that gets in the way of a lot of our joy and space, which is fear. And so a few people are asking, can you talk more about fear, how it's used to control us, and how do we move beyond that?
Yes. So with fear, I have 2 words for you, and then I will tell you how to go about utilizing that, okay? For fear, my 2 words are this: fuck it. You're welcome. Okay, what do I mean? Fear is one of 3 things, and this is something, there's so many things that Access talks about, so many things that it helps you change that nobody else in the world even knows about. And I would like the whole world to know this can change, because 21 years ago, my life was ruled by fear, okay? Ruled by it. And it's part of what got me to the place where I was going to end my life if things didn't change. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to create my future. I was afraid about money stuff. I was afraid to talk to people. I was afraid to work on people. I was afraid of every friggin' thing. I walked through my life with massive fear. Okay, now I would like you to please get the person you would have met 21 years ago be a little bit different than the one you meet today, okay? Okay, a lot different. You could ask my sister. She will tell you that I was a rather different person. So fear is one of 3 things. We have this concept in Access that 98% of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions do not belong to you. We pick them up like a big psychic radio receiver. Why? Because every molecule in the universe is connected. What's it connected by? Let's say vibration. Well, guess what? When somebody's molecules are vibrating like fear and you're near them, or they're on the same planet as you, for example, you pick up on that vibration. When 7 or 8 billion people are vibrating like that, what happens? It seems like it's everywhere in the air. Except not so much in nature, because nature doesn't go there. Nature doesn't align and agree with fear. You know, we talk about animals being afraid and these rabbits function from fear and that. No, they don't. They function from survival. They don't function from fear. They're like, I'm getting my little rabbit ass out of here before the coyote comes along. You know? The rabbit doesn't go, oh my God, I'm so afraid. Rabbits, no. I'm sorry. That is something that we project on them because that's what we think we would be in that situation. Okay? But the good news is, even though you'd have a lot of fear perhaps, oh yeah, you wouldn't. But the good news is you'd be able to shag like a bunny if you were a bunny. Nobody laughed at that. Is sex off topic? Consciousness includes everything, people, and judges nothing. So everything that is, whatever that weird energy was that got brought up, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. That's the way to use the clearing statement, by the way. You're in a situation, you have weird, wonky crap come up, and you're like, wait, what was that? I have no idea. You have no idea. Now, if we explored it, we could identify it, but we don't have to. You can get the energy and go, everything that is, I now destroy and uncreate and POC and POD, or short or long form. POC and POD, the superheroes of consciousness, or the long form. Why? It's a tool of consciousness to allow you to get more conscious. Okay, so anyway, this idea of fear, the idea of picking up on other people. So it's either somebody else's, in which case you're noticing fear, you go, who does that belong to? And when did I buy it as mine? Or is it actually mine? We have this app that's free. It's called Who Does This Belong To? And it runs you through this wonderful process that if you'll do it for 3 days, if you'll ask, who does this belong to every thought, feeling, and emotion you have for 3 days, at the end of 3 days, you walk through the world everywhere like a walking, talking meditation. I highly recommend it. Okay? Access consciousness, who does this belong to? It's free. There's nothing for sale on there. It's a lot of videos and stuff explaining it. But that's first. We've got to get that so much of what we experience that is heavy and limited is something we picked up from other people or something we bought from other people. Now, does that make them bad or wrong? No, they're doing the best damn job they can living their life in this lifetime too. You know? They just don't have very many tools, which Access is full of. We're full of it. So there, Access is full of it. Just, we could hashtag that or, meme it or something. Yeah. Okay, so that's first. Who does this belong to? Second is excitement and fear have exactly the same physiological, it's the same physiological response. Whether you identify it as fear or not is your mental point of view. So you'll have the same energy, the exact same energy, and most of us have learned to identify it as fear rather than excitement. Gary, my favorite story is when Gary was a little kid, he was about to go on the Ferris wheel for the first time, and he was pulling on his mom's skirt, jumping up and down. He was so excited, and she pointed down and said, now don't be afraid, dear. And he went, oh, that's fear. Oh my God. He misidentified that energy as fear for the rest of his life until he got this tool in Access, until he discovered it actually, that there was this thing going on, and realized that all those times when he thought he was afraid of having sex, see, I had to bring sex in because y'all had so much charge on it last time. I'm like, I'm going to talk about that again. Let's poke the big red button. Okay, good. Okay. And he said, wow, the great part was all these times I thought I was afraid of having sex and I was actually excited. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you want to ask, who does this belong to? POC and POD, when I bought it, is mine. When it wasn't, and everything I've created with that. And you want to go, okay, is this fear or excitement? That's 2 things. The third is, fear is something called a distractor implant. And you're like, what? I was with you on the first 2. But the last one is a little weird, Dr. Dain. I know. It's something, but it's great. This is so helpful. We even did an entire telecall because we found there were these things that are called distractor implants. Now, one of the bars is called the implant band. Like you saw Arthur talking about it if you saw his segment where he's like, I just sit down people and I start running their implant band. Then I talk to them about what an implant is. What's an implant? Basically, any point of view you buy from somebody else that isn't yours that now becomes part of your operating system, okay? It's a downgrade in your operating system, basically, that makes you believe in things like fear, okay? And distractor implants are things like anger, rage, fury, and hate, fear, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, and doubt. Now, there are several others, but this is not the purpose of today's conversation. But I want to give you this regarding fear, even if it sounds a little out there, because if you'll use it, it can start changing everything, which was what happened for me, okay? So if you look at fear, doubt, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, anger, rage, fear, and hate, those are things that seem impossible to deal with, right? It's because they're not actually real as such. They're an implanted point of view. Somebody pressed the button on their operating system that is now running this program, and this program, you know how sometimes your program just sticks and freezes and keeps going in a loop? That's what a distractor implant does to you. So all you got to do is go all the distractor implants of fear and doubt, POC and POD, or destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, I do realize at this point in the conversation, it's why they only let me talk for so long, okay? Do you notice at this point in the conversation, and you guys around the world are probably noticing it too, where you're like, are you still talking English? I don't understand. Or, you know, around the world, they're like, I'm listening to my translator, and I think she started speaking English, and I don't understand English. What's going on? Where your brain kind of goes, flatline. Yeah, that's your mind going to sleep temporarily, okay? That's your mind no longer being able to go, I run the show. That's your mind going, what's going on? Look at the flowers, wow. Okay? And so you'll notice this spaciness. In this world, we're taught that spacey is wrong. Not having a defined point of view is wrong. So we spend our entire lives, anytime we get to a sense of space, wondering what's wrong and then trying to define it out of existence so we can be as contracted as we're supposed to. But we are creatures of space. That's how we function. We're more like the dolphins. We're more like the trees. We're more like the plants. We're more like the puppies and the kittens. Like, how many of you like puppies, kittens, and dolphins? Now, I know you better be raising your hand, otherwise you're a serious asshole. You do get that, right? You do realize that was a loaded question. But it does make the point, because what do they have in common? They're just there. And they're like, hi. No matter what you do, they're there. Well, what if that is more like us also? So going back to the conversation of fear, who does this belong to? Is it fear or excitement? And POC and POD, all the distractor implants, creating this never-ending cycle that I'm in. Because you get in this never-ending loop that seems like it never changes. I used to, when I was starting my second practice in Santa Barbara, the only thing I could think of to get clients was to make phone calls. And so I would pick up the phone and I would literally start shaking with fear. And I would start crying. And I was like, oh, shit, you know? And I'd put the phone down and I was like, fuck, I hate this. I fucking hate this. And some of you who have things in your life where you have that, I fucking hate this, I understand really well. And I didn't know what to do. And I would use whatever tools I had learned. This is before Access. And sometimes it would take me an hour to get over it, but I would pick up that damn phone and make the damn phone call before I left. Because I knew if I didn't, I was gonna hate myself all night and be less likely to make the phone call the next day. And I kind of wanted to eat, so I kind of needed to get people, you know, that kind of thing. And so, but once I got Access, I had that same thing come up. I picked up the phone and I went, oh, there it is again, oh my God. Although I still had more space around it because I had been doing Access a bit, but it felt like a similar thing. And I went, okay, who does that belong to? Oh shit, a lot of that's not mine. Okay, POC and POD when I bought it is mine. Ooh, that even feels better. Because if you're around something for a while, you'll buy it as yours because you live with it. Like you buy things from all kinds of people because you're around it so much, it starts to feel just like you. So I went, POC and POD when I bought that as mine and everything I've created. And then I went, okay, is this fear or excitement? I'm like, oh, I think it's fear. I don't think it's excitement. Okay, that's not helping. Okay, and then POC and POD, all the distractor implants. POC and POD, POC and POD, POC and POD, POC and POD. Well, why don't we do it with all you guys? All the fear. that you made real and true, and more real than you, because it's so intense it must be real. And everywhere you decided, you got to follow it. And all the fear that you bought is yours that isn't. And all the fear you're still buying, especially during the great pandemic. Yay! And yes, I said plandemic, okay? Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Yes. And return to sender with consciousness attached. Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. That is a lot. Okay, good. Okay, so now, how much of what you decided is fear, and wherever you decided you're fearful was actually excitement, and you were too excited, you were more excited than you're supposed to be. So people, of course, assume that you're afraid. Hello, you're not supposed to be that excited. Don't you understand you're not 6 years old anymore? Everything that is, we destroy and uncreate all that, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, all of the distractor implants that have been running your life, especially the last 2 years, because this world in the last 2 years has basically become a distractor implant walking, okay? What does a distractor implant do? It distracts you from what's real by creating a really intense thing over here that you have to put all your time, energy, and attention on, so you feel like you can't actually be present with the space that you are, and with the reality you have, and with what's true for you. That's what a distractor implant does, okay? Where do they come from? I have no clue. I just know we can clear them. That's what I'm interested in, okay? So, all the distractor implants, fear, doubt, anger, rage, fury, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, and also all the obsessive, compulsive, and addictive points of view that are distractor implants. Will you now please destroy and uncreate everything you aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to that allows it to exist? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and help, Emily, it's got a lot of energy.
Shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Thanks, that's good. That's good, a little emphasis there. That was good, I like that. So one more time, all of the anger, rage, fury, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, fear, doubt, and obsessive, compulsive, addictive points of view that are the distractor implants, all of those that have been running your life, especially the last 2 years, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyond. One more time, everything I said, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, does anybody feel lighter? If you'll do this every single day, you will start to notice much more lightness in your life, and you will be able to deal with things that seem impossible. One of the things I love so much about Access is it allows you to deal with things that previously seemed impossible to handle, impossible to deal with, impossible to change. And it happens, and you're like, wait, it changed. Hold on, go tell somebody, it changed, oh my God. And it surprises you, it surprises me still, what is possible to change, yeah?
Yeah.
One other thing I'd ask you to do every single day is all of the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that you have about you, about your life, about money, about your relationships, about your friendships, and about the world, and that anybody in the world has about you. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Oh, and all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections you have about the future. And that everybody else has about the future that you're picking up on and thinking it must be yours. Will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Are you feeling any different than when we started this conversation?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad. That, for me, is part of the gift that I can be for you and that Access is for you, that you are for the world. If we have more lightness, we would look at things through such a different lens. And the lightness occurs when you choose to be you, whatever that is, and choose to let your freak flag fly, okay? Let your difference be, and recognize that there are a lot of other weirdos out there like you that actually desire something as weirdly wonderful as you do, and we will contribute to making it happen also. And lastly, on that note, please do not tell your hopes and your dreams and your aspirations to somebody who is going to shut you down, even if you think they're your best friend. A lot of people are envious of what you can create. And what you'll do is you'll shut you down because they didn't receive it and you thought, oh my God, I thought this person got it. And then you believe it can't exist. So everywhere you shut you down because you made the mistake of telling somebody who wasn't actually supporting you in the way that you hoped, not wrong, not right, not good nor bad, just a choice, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And will you now please reclaim your hopes and dreams and your which is actually your awareness of what is actually possible for you and for us and our friggin' world. Thank you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Whew. Okay, so I have one more question for you.
How long do I have to answer is the question.
A few minutes. I saved an easy one for the last one.
So good.
But I will say, we had a lot of questions about where are you coming up with these questions? How do you ask them? One of the great things about this TV show is a lot of these questions, and we're going to go so much more into the Access Consciousness tools and questions and how you get through all this stuff on the TV show. So after this segment, Ickonic gave a very special, wonderful thing for all of our guests and people watching, where they get a 14-day free trial to watch the episodes we just saw and to subscribe there.
Yay!
Yay! So if you are watching online after we end today, there'll be a little QR code. You can scan the screen, or you can go to drdainheer.com/isnowthetime, the name of the show.
There you go.
Okay, are you ready for your easy one that hopefully you can answer in a few minutes? Let's see how we go.
Pock and pod, pock and pod, pock and pod, pock and pod. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Do you meditate, or what do you have as a physical, mental well-being routine?
I'm not allowed to say masturbate, right? We're on public.
That can be included.
Everything that brought up. Oh, I told you I'm not normal. Okay. Actually, one of my favorites for creating that space when I feel like I was sort of out of it, is actually bars. But also, it's actually, at this point, it's more about how I live my life. And what I mean is, when something heavy comes up, I address it. I ask a question. Like for the last few weeks, I have been in some weird, funky space, and at the same time having a sense of peace-ish, but also kind of like, and that usually doesn't last for me at this point longer than maybe a day, or sometimes two if it's something really big. And so I finally asked this question: what do I need to look at and what do I need to change to have the space I know is possible? Such a simple question. And so finally, in the last few days, I've had some conversation with some friends that changed some things, and some people that I work with, where it was like this perfect storm of different people having different sort of stuck places and points of view, where when I got us all together, or through me, I talked to them individually and then together, it all changed. And I was like, oh, okay. So for me, it's actually one of the greatest self-cares, one of ways of you get the idea. What she said is actually to be present in my life and not let the heavy stuff go unacknowledged and get hidden under the rug, and address it. And even if you know those 4 questions I gave you, what is it? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how do I change it? I'll do that. I'll ask that. I'll be like, what is this? Okay, and just wait a minute. And go through that list without trying to define it, really, just letting the energetic awareness show up that I know I as a being am getting. And then, okay, that thing about what is it going to take to change it? What awareness do I need to have, and what do I need to change in order to have this be different? But then, we said bars, talked about this sort of the way of navigating my life where I'm willing to be present with the things that want to derail me. And then the other one is one of the greatest elements of self-care you can actually give yourself, is to not judge you. So one of the things I notice is when I judge myself, everything that is, all you got to do is everything that is, pock and pod. Everything that is, pock and pod. Now, some of you are like, I think I'll be saying that all the time, every day. Yeah, you might. You might for a few days, weeks, months, who knows? But the fact is that you'll take one little brick out of this big wall and another and another and another. And if you took just one little brick out of the Great Wall of China, that thing would eventually collapse. Well, same thing with the Great Wall of China, called the judgment of you and your life. This is one of the greatest kindnesses we can do for us, is to get over the judgment of us, and then, and in addition and simultaneously, start exploring and heading in the direction of what lights us up. Like if you had a magic wand, here's a question I asked on a Zoom with Access facilitators the other day, which was, what is it that could show up? Like if we get to the beginning of 2023 and you're looking back over the last 12 months, what is it, how did I put that? What is it
that would make the year have been a wow?
Yeah, what is it that would have made this year a wow for you? What is it that would have made this year a total wow? Meaning, if you had it show up in the next 12 months, between now and the beginning of next year, what is it that if you had that show up would be like, wow, in a good way, okay? Wow in a great way, wow, and like, wow, yes. That's gonna be unique for every single one of us. But that is part of the gift, that uniqueness, your unique way of looking at the world, your unique request. Because you may be the only one that has it. And when you bring it to fruition, our whole world is made greater by it. So everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, to know, to receive, and to get to be whatever would make your life actually wow and worth living, and make it so you're like, yeah, Corona Schmarona, Omicron, oh my God, whatever. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it, please. Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. See, I don't believe in fighting against what is going on. I believe in out-creating it. And that's a gift I got from my friend Gary Douglas. Don't fight it, out-create it. Don't fight it, out-create it. Don't fight it, out-create it. Yeah. And you are fully capable of doing so. This I know.
And actually, there's Gary Douglas.
I know him.
You do know him.
I love him. He's my best friend in the whole wide world. Has been for 21 years. And probably many other lifetimes before that.
So he's going to be here in 30 minutes for our next live segment. And it's funny because the topic of your conversation and that interview is on crossing the divide, on not fighting, of taking away the separation. He's in the back of the room. He's ready for his segment.
He's ready. He's always early.
I want to invite people, because you might be streaming this on Ickonic Media's YouTube. I want to invite them to the rest of the day, because we did have some questions. You mentioned bars. We shorten access bars to bars often. We're not talking about going to the bar, just to clarify.
We're also not talking about not going to the bar.
True.
Okay, just to be clear.
But if you're curious about access bars and what it can change, or would like to hear the conversation between Dr. Dain and Gary Douglas, we'll be back with that in a half an hour at globalaccessbarsday.com. And I just wanted to say thank you for all of the questions that came in, because they're brilliant. And we really would like to invite you to the show. Is now the time to see more of that. And thank you, Dain. It's been an honor. Thank you.
And I also would like to thank you all for participating in this and watching. And I apologize for not looking direct to camera for most of it. There's a room full of people also. So just know that's why. And what a great pleasure it is to have you here. And I hope this is the contribution that may let you know that whatever you truly desire is actually possible to create. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miss Emily. Bye-bye.
Interview 2, take 1. Easy for me to say.
Know that feeling. In the world we live in, there's so much about taking. What I found is one of the greatest gifts is actually gifting to others. It's a little known fact that in true gifting, there's a simultaneity of receiving. And so I describe it as the simultaneity of gifting and receiving. For me, the generosity that we have and can be has nothing to do with money. the energy you gift another being is one of the greatest gifts you can. But let me tell you one other thing that I've learned. As I started being less stingy with my energy, my money flows also started to change. You see, the energy of money is related to the energy of receiving. The energy of receiving can also be opened up and unlocked by the energy of gifting. That's why I say we're energetic beings fundamentally. And so the energies of all of these different things are actually interrelated, and when you change the energy, you change the situation in your life.